The first and only warning that the established order of the Middle East was about to be shattered into a million unrecognizable pieces was not a diplomatic cable, a frantic phone call between capitals, or the ominous movement of troops on a border. It was the faint, almost imperceptible shift in atmospheric pressure over the eastern Mediterranean at 2:17 local time on September 9, 2025, as the canopies of 12 Israeli F-35 Air stealth fighters, painted a pitch black darker than the night itself, slid closed and sealed, their twin Pratt and Whitney engines humming with a subdued fury that was swallowed whole by the desert silence, their formation lifting off from Ramon Air Base not as a declaration of war, but as a ghost, a digital phantom erased from the radars of friend and foe alike, their destination a secret so profound that not even the pilots, until this very moment, had been privy to the complete, terrifying truth of their mission, a flight path that would arc south. Not towards their usual adversaries in Gaza, Lebanon, or Syria, but on an audacious, unprecedented, and monumentally dangerous journey across the heart of the Arabian Peninsula, skirting the airspace of Jordan and Saudi Arabia through clandestine corridors negotiated in shadows, their target not a terrorist cell or a nuclear facility, but the gleaming, opulent, and diplomatically untouchable city-state of Doha, Qatar, a nation that Israel had never officially acknowledged as an enemy, yet whose intricate and multifaceted support for Hamas, its harboring of top-tier political leadership, and its role as the primary financial and ideological lifeline for the organization had, in the eyes of the Israeli War Cabinet, finally crossed a red line so bright and so bloody that it demanded a response not of covert operations or cyber attacks, but of raw, undeniable, and catastrophic kinetic force. A message written not in words but in fire and shrapnel, delivered directly to the doorstep of the Al Jazeera network and the Qatari royal palace itself. This was not a mission born of reckless impulse but of cold, calculated, and excruciatingly detailed planning that had taken months. A plan so secret it was referred to only by the codename Operation Bronze Hammer. Built upon a foundation of intelligence so sensitive it came from assets buried deeper than any before, detailing not just the locations of safe houses and financial institutions, but the precise movements of Hamas's political chief, Ismail Haniyeh, who intelligence suggested was not in some hidden bunker but was, on this very night, residing in a luxurious villa on the outskirts of Doha, under the protection of the Qatari state security apparatus, a fact that presented both an unimaginable opportunity and an incalculable risk. The flight itself was a masterpiece of aerial deception and technological supremacy. The Adirs, flying in a tight, data-linked formation, exploited a known gap in Jordanian radar coverage, their surfaces angled to deflect what little energy might hit them, their every move choreographed by a team of mission planners watching from a bunker deep beneath Tel Aviv, their heart rates steady but their knuckles white, knowing that a single misstep, a single errant commercial airliner, a single malfunctioning piece of stealth technology, would expose the operation and trigger a regional conflagration that would make all previous conflicts look like minor skirmishes. As they crossed the silent, dark expanse of Saudi Arabia's empty quarter, the most forbidding desert on Earth, they received a crucial update via a secure satellite data link, confirmation that Haniyeh was indeed at the target location, along with several other high-value members of the Hamas Political Bureau, gathered for what was believed to be a meeting to discuss the ongoing ceasefire negotiations. A bitter irony that was not lost on the Israeli commanders, that this strike would not only be a decapitation but would occur in the midst of talks that Qatar itself was mediating, a duality that underscored the utter complexity and moral labyrinth of the entire conflict. 97 minutes after takeoff, the lead pilot, a veteran with over 3,000 hours of flight time known only by his call sign, Rampant, saw the first glow of Doha's spectacular skyline on the horizon, a glittering jewel of unimaginable wealth rising from the desert, a city that symbolized a new, modern Middle East, and which he was now tasked with violating in the most profound way possible. With a series of silent commands input through his helmet's display, he designated the targets. The primary was the secluded villa in the West Bay Lagoon area, a compound surrounded by water and high walls, its privacy now its greatest vulnerability. Secondary targets were a discrete financial processing center used to funnel Qatari funds to Gaza and a communications hub suspected of housing servers used for Hamas's encrypted command and control networks. At 3:46, the order was given, and in a span of 45 seconds that would feel like an eternity, the calm of the Qatari night was torn asunder as 6 Israeli-made Rampage air-to-surface missiles, specifically designed to penetrate heavily fortified targets, and 12 smaller, precision-guided spice bombs detached from their internal bays, their guidance systems activating and steering them unerringly towards their coordinates, the weapons flying a final, deadly parabola against the backdrop of the city's dazzling lights. The resulting explosions were not the large, diffuse blasts of dumb bombs, but sharp, localized, and devastatingly precise eruptions of focused energy. The villa was not just hit, it was eviscerated, its marble and glass structure vaporized in a fireball that lit up the entire lagoon, followed moments later by the secondary targets, which were hit with a surgical ferocity that minimized collateral damage, but utterly annihilated their intended objectives, the shockwaves rattling windows across the city and sending panicked residents stumbling into the streets, their phones instantly flooding social media with images of the incomprehensible violence. The Israeli fighters, their ordnance expended, did not linger. They executed a sharp, pre-planned turn to the west, pushing their engines to full military power as they raced for the relative safety of international airspace over the Persian Gulf, leaving behind a city in chaos, a diplomatic earthquake of unprecedented magnitude, and a series of questions that would echo through history. Had they succeeded? The initial satellite and signals intelligence that trickled into the Israeli command bunker in the following minutes was conflicting, suggesting that while the villa was completely destroyed and the financial hub erased, the final confirmation on Hania's status was, agonizingly, inconclusive, a possibility that filled the commanders with a dread even deeper than the fear of retaliation. For it meant they may have just ignited the world's most volatile region for a gamble that had failed. The retaliation, when it came, was not immediate but began as a low, diplomatic rumble that quickly escalated into a geopolitical tsunami. Qatar, a nation with immense soft power and financial influence, immediately convened an emergency session of the UN Security Council, its ambassador delivering a speech of raw, furious condemnation, while behind the scenes, it wielded its most powerful weapon. The threat of liquefied natural gas, LNG, shipments, the lifeblood of European energy, coming to an immediate and indefinite halt, a move that sent shockwaves through global markets and triggered panic in European capitals. Meanwhile, Iran, seeing an opportunity to solidify its axis of resistance, issued blistering statements promising a response that will resound through the Zionist entity. While Hezbollah in Lebanon and the Houthis in Yemen began mobilizing, their leaders vowing to open new, devastating fronts against Israel, threatening a multi-theater war that the Israeli Defense Forces, though powerful, had long dreaded. The United States, caught completely off guard by its closest allies' actions, found itself in an impossible position, forced to balance its unwavering support for Israel's security with the horrifying reality of an unprovoked attack on a sovereign nation and a key U.S. military partner. Al Udeid Air Base, the largest U.S. military installation in the Middle East, was just miles from the strike sites, and American officials were reportedly blindsided and furious, leading to the most severe diplomatic crisis in the 77-year history of the U.S.-Israel relationship. In the days that followed, the world held its breath, watching as the delicate architecture of Middle Eastern politics, painstakingly built over decades, teetered on the brink of total collapse, all because of a single, deadly, and breathtakingly audacious airstrike launched on a quiet September night, an operation that would be debated, condemned, and analyzed for generations. A stark testament to the fact that in the 21st century, a war is not always won in the trenches or the deserts, but sometimes in the silent, dark skies above a glittering city, with consequences far beyond anything any strategist could possibly have calculated.